My side of coin. Billy Jazz, my side of coin.
Thank you, Chris. My one-sided coin is the Toastmaster. It took me 22 years to realise there are always two sides to a coin. I'd love to share with you all the story of how I perceived the first 22 years of my life. Imagine this. Imagine you have a little black briefcase and you carry it around everywhere you go. And every time you have a life experience, you are given a coin. Now, if that life experience is positive, what you do is you get your coin and you flip it to heads, and you put it down in your little black briefcase with the head side facing up, so that you can see that your coin, that your experience was positive. If your experience was negative, you get your coin and you flip it to the tail side facing up, so that you can see that your experience was negative. Then what you do is you go and get some super glue and you super glue all the edges of your coins, so that when you close your briefcase and you're carrying it around, you're not mixing up your life story. Your experience stays that way. You're not messing it up. This briefcase was my story. And I would go around and I would tell the whole world about my story. This briefcase is our story. How many times in your life have you had an experience that's been negative and it has deflated you? Or you've had an experience which has been positive and it has elated you? We call this the emotional roller coaster, and we are all riding it. Sometimes our roller coaster takes us way up high to the highest of peaks, and then we come falling way down low to the lowest of troughs. During these times, we call ourselves emotionally unstable. Or sometimes our roller coaster just goes round and round and round, and we keep repeating the past over and over and over again. In these times, we call ourselves predictable. Sometimes our roller coaster will do a couple of loops. And have a guess what we call ourselves in these times? Yeah, looping. Regardless of what kind of life we are all living here, everyone is fluctuating and oscillating between positive and negative experiences and emotions. At the time I learned this, I asked myself a really, really high quality question. I asked myself, if there was always two sides to a coin, which side of that coin am I experiencing? So I started doing a bit of research. I learned that we live in this universe which is governed by a particular universal law called the universal law of polarity, which means it's dark on this side of the earth but it's light on the other side of the earth. It's light on this side of the moon but it's dark on the other side of the moon. We have a north pole, we have a south pole, we have a high tide, we have a low tide, we have the rich, we have the poor, we have peace, we have war. We have two eyes, two nostrils, two arms, two legs, two ears. We have a yin, we have a yang, a heads, we have a tails. This information isn't new, it's been around since the beginning of time. But at the time I was learning it, I was riding an emotionally unstable roller coaster. The question I asked myself, which side of the coin am I experiencing? I realised right in that moment, I was only ever experiencing the side of the coin that I could see. The side of the coin that I placed facing up. Right in that moment, I realised the other side of the coin actually still exists. I just can't see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, or smell it, and therefore I don't believe it to be true. So I began to further educate myself in this universal law and human behaviour and emotional intelligence, and I learned that we experience reality through our sensory perceptions, our touch, taste, sight, smell, hearing. I also learned that our sensory perceptions experience reality lopsidedly. Let me give you an example of this. If the person beside you right now farted and asked you, hey mate, how does that smell to you? I couldn't imagine anybody here going, well, it smells bad, but there's this pleasant tinge that I... It's one or the other. It smells good or it smells bad. It feels happy or it feels sad. That's how we experience life through our sensory perceptions. At 22 years of age, I was given the tools that would allow me to adjust and manipulate those peaks and those troughs of my roller coaster track. And I acquired these tools by getting a little crowbar, and I had to pry off these little coins that I stuck down so well in my suitcase. And for the first time in my life, I began to see the other side of my coin. I began to experience the other side of my story. Every time I'd lift up a coin, I'd equilibrate a life experience. I saw the positive in the negative, I saw the negative in the positive. And the emotional elation or deflation that I had attached to that experience would be neutralized and balanced. I began to live a stable and balanced life. My roller coaster journey went from this to this. I started riding at 0 point, at that level of balance. And I acquired this by flipping those coins and seeing the other side of my story. And to have stability when you're on a track puts you in control, not the track. So I started directing my own roller coaster at this time. So, if I was to open my little black briefcase now and show you what's inside, you'd see a series of coins standing. And this is not a trick, this is not an illusion, it's just my story. That you can see both sides of my story simultaneously at the exact same time. And this is my reality. This is your reality, Mr. Toastmaster.